Hello, everybody. How's it going? It's me, Crendor, and welcome back to another Almost Too Old for This channel where I react to Jesse Cox's Too Old for This channel where he reacts to content for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. Today, he's reacting to Stranger Things secret episode. Oh boy, just as a FYI here, I saw season 1 of Stranger Things and then never watched it again. And honestly, I'm pretty content with that. I did the same with Dexter. You know, the show Dexter, the serial killer guy. I watched season 1 of that. Nothing else. I was like, I'm content with this. Sometimes I'll just watch a show and be like, I don't think I need to see more. And, you know, maybe there's stuff past season 1 that's really good. And people are like, you're missing out by not watching it. But honestly, like, I watched a season. Seems great. Everything's good. Feels like I got a pretty solid conclusion. And I'm like, yo, man, I'm good. That was fun. So anyway.
All right, we're doing this again. And this time, it's something that I've just been kind of watching online on TikTok as I've been traveling over the last couple weeks and watching
Patreon.com/Crendor, YouTube.com/Crendor, YouTube.com/Cox and Crendor podcast.
Bro, and watching
Twitch
it
TV
happen has
Crendor.
been fascinating. Today, we're talking Conformity Gate.
The hell? Conformity Gate?
So if you don't know what this is, Conformity Gate has been taking over the world of TikTok because, as you know, over the last couple of weeks, the finale of the show Stranger Things has been happening on Netflix. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch it all at once. I got Netflix again just to watch the ending, and I watched the first 4 episodes, which I thought were very good, and then I went off and did holiday things and got caught up in stuff and had to go to convention. Wanted to go to a convention that I really enjoyed. When I came back, I was like, all right, let's watch these things. But while all that was going on social media, people were getting caught up in basically what I discovered watching the end of the series, which was the drop-off in quality from episode 4 to the rest of the final season is like pretty insane. Like there's a lot of glaring plot holes and weird editing choices. And
So the Game of Thrones classic is what we're talking about.
General gist of the whole thing that I saw on TikTok was people were not satisfied with the ending of the show, is basically what was going on. And the main characters conformed to the scenario in the epilogue that a lot of people were like, huh? There was a lot of unanswered questions, a lot of things that didn't make sense. And so the internet kind of formed its own reality. And what I noticed specifically about this, and the reason why I wanted to bring it up, is that it very much appeared like it was Gen Z's first big media disappointment. Now I know someone's gonna be like, well, this anime over here, this thing over here. I'm talking normies who are just living their lives and they love Stranger Things and then it just kind of falls apart. We all have a show we loved and it kind of just sucked in the end. Great examples for me, at least, that I can remember. First off, Sherlock. Anyone who watched Sherlock back in the day, that final season was atrocious. And
I remember Sherlock. Honestly, I don't even remember the final season. I remember season 1 and a little bit of season 2.
I think everyone really expected it to be better. And so, if you remember, there was this time where people were thinking there must be a secret final episode. Something that confirms that everything that came before it was actually not truth and it's going to be something else. And there wasn't at all. And also, if you remember Lost, there was the character John Locke.
Yeah, Lost.
John Locke was a beloved character, one of my favorites in all of TV. And about halfway through the series, they killed his character off. I don't want to get too into the spoilers of what happens, but from that point on, John Locke isn't John Locke anymore. It's a completely different character, and it's like jarring and terrible, and I did not like it, still don't like it. He was kind of like the one person who you trusted as like, I'm gonna solve the mystery, and they were like, no, he won't. And also, no one will. And the ending will be moderately satisfying. And I know a lot of people are like, well, what about Game of Thrones, dude? Game of Thrones was terrible, the end there. True, at the end of Game of Thrones, that was awful. But here's the thing, the declining quality of seasons after they ran out of like books to take from was noticeable, but manageable. And I think everyone watching the show was like, yeah, it's not as good as the first few seasons, but at least it's not terrible. So we'll get to the end.
That is true. Like, it wasn't terrible until like the actual end. And even then, there's some people I talk to, like normie people, especially older normie people, that are like, oh man, wasn't that great? Like the dragons and the stuff. And I'm just like, yeah, yeah, it was great.
and it'll be fine. But that last season, characters did things that made no sense. Characters, you know, went against completely who they were. The story was wrapped up in one of those ways that's kind of like, well, we only have one season, so long night? Yeah, man, that's a day. And you're like, what?
Yeah.
It's exactly one night long. But I think the reason people didn't think, oh, well, there must be something else. Like, there's, you know, a conformity gate thing. People just accepted that it had been declining and that the writing team behind it had kind of given up because they were going to try and move on to Star Wars or whatever was coming next. They just gave up. And so the audience gave up on them, especially when Starbucks cups started showing up in the shoots and, you know, the quality of the wigs, everything kind of looked.
I mean, that is true. I still think people expected something good. I don't think they're like, yeah, here it is, and it sucks. You know, I saw it coming. Like, people were still like, that sucked.
Worse, which is, in a way, very similar to what was going on with Stranger Things. The quality of those last episodes was kind of all over the place. It was noticeable to the point where I think everyone online was shocked that things took such a crazy turn that it must be on purpose. And not simply because the team behind it was like, screw it, we're almost done, we got paid, let's just get it out. And so to deep dive a little bit more, let's watch this video that kind of explains what's going on. Because there's been two waves of this, and I really want to talk about that. That's the thing I want to focus on today. There's been two waves of this. The first wave, which was the series finale happened, this big movie thing happened, and everyone was very disappointed, and that was back on the first. And then there was this vibe of like, the 7th, something is happening. On the 7th, things are going to change. We are going to get our ending. And that's what this first video is. It's the day before, it's January 6th. And this is sort of a hype up of all the things we know that are going to prove that on the 7th, we're going to get our real episode 9 season finale.
What if I told you the Duffer Brothers are actively setting up the biggest plot twist in television history, and they've been doing it right in front of us?
Right away, you can tell. Honestly, I can't even hate on this because I remember being young and watching The Matrix 2 and
Can I just say, I also love when people start a video with like, what if I told you that by spraying some sort of like apple cider vinegar mist into your bathroom, it would cure your bathroom of all diseases? Like, I don't know. It's just like the way they say it. Like, what if I told you that by eating 3 almonds a day, you could prevent every disease? It's like, that's such a like YouTuber opening. I don't know. I just noticed
so impressed that like, there's no way this isn't going to be the greatest plot twist in movie history. Like, how on earth can it?
Also, what if I told you is like it's kind of like a, can I ask you a question? Like, can I ask you a question? You know, what if I told you? It's like, like if somebody says, can I ask you a question? You already did. And then it's like, what if I told you? Like, you're telling me it anyway. Just say it, right?
Character from the Matrix exists outside the Matrix. It must be a Matrix within the Matrix. And there's some grand thing like, oh my God, the Wachowskis are gonna blow us away. And then the third movie came out and it was supremely disappointing. And I get it, I've been here. And that's the vibe here. It's like, you don't understand, man. They're about to blow our minds. Again, this is 24 hours from now, according to this video. We're all gonna get blown away.
Through leaks, not through interviews, but through tiny screw-ups, background details, numbers, sounds, and mistakes that don't feel like mistakes at all. Because when you line all of these up, the numbers, the clocks, the Morse code, and all of the missing epilogue details, one thing becomes clear. Stranger Things didn't actually end. And everything I'm about to show you suggests that Season 5 actually has a hidden Episode 9. Let's break it down.
You really want to root for them.
Dude, this is me breaking down Digital Circus.
Because I have been there. I've been there, and it genuinely feels like this is Gen Z's supreme media disappointment that, yeah, something you love can actually end up sucking in the end. I have lived through Star Wars. I've seen what they've done to Star Trek. You know, all these different things I've watched as media.
World of Warcraft. World of Warcraft. The Jailer, everybody. Dude, can I just say, like, because I was thinking of like Stranger Things, and it gives me like Old God vibes in a way, like all these crazy beasts and stuff. I don't actually know what it is, 'cause I've only watched season 1, but like there's something to be said about, you know, things like old gods and like mysterious beings and gods like controlling stuff, and like we don't really know. And there's something cool about the mystery behind it and not truly knowing. And that's kind of how World of Warcraft used to be too, with like the old gods, like, yo, there's Cthulhu, or like Yogg Saron like whispering to you like, I am the beginning of the, like, going through people. And now it's just like, oh, we fought another old god. Oh, here's another old god. Yeah, we beat him. Like, it's just like, it takes something away when you start like fighting old gods and fighting shit. It's like, I hate that. I don't know. I really hate when you hit a point where like your characters and just the people just ascend to a point where they can defeat gods. And it's just, I don't know, because it kind of like lessens everything, right? I feel like when you have old gods that are mysterious and powerful, it almost gives us like a semblance of reality, kind of like how we're in our own reality, being like, yeah, like we're just, you know, tiny, you know, specks of dust on this grand universe. There could be gods out there. There could be, you know, crazy universes and like all this shit. And you know, I think when we see these characters in shows and video games being like, yeah, you know, they're kind of feeling the same way, right? Like they're this powerful character in the world, but there's, you know, so many stronger things out there that we don't understand. And sometimes they might not even care about us. They're just going about their business, doing their own thing. But then when you start just killing them all and being like, look, they suck. It's like, well, then who cares? Right? I don't know.
It just crumbles over time. Especially, this is a series that took 10 years to make. 10 years, 5 seasons. That's crazy. Especially considering back in the day, you get like 26 episodes a season. This is 8-ish, 8 to 10. And so this has been a part of their lives for a while, especially if they're into the show. So I get it. I can understand the desire to want this to be good. It's a shame it ain't.
Since I went to bed last night, a bunch of proof has actually come out in the last 24 hours. Proof.
Crazy that it's proof, right? You know what I mean? The idea of them seeing the writing on the wall, but there is no writing. It's just bad media making, bad TV show making.
Jesse Cox, are you telling me that people will find proof in things that actually have no proof in various things like, I don't know, politics, religion, conspiracies, the world? That's insane. I don't believe it.
Fascinating about the whole thing is that you can understand it because in previous seasons of Stranger Things, little things have mattered. It makes perfect sense when you think about it. Except right now we're on pure cope. When I watched those final episodes, all I felt was like, right, we're doing this again. Stranger Things season 5 isn't bad. It's just not good. And that's upsetting and sad, but I've been there before and I've seen it happen before.
Let's start with something so...
I mean, I guess you could argue that if it's not good, then it is bad. Right? But I get what he's saying. It's like, I almost think it's not bad because it's fun. Like, it could be fun. Kind of like when we watch all the movies we watch on our Cox and Crendor movie nights and go back and watch some of these old movies. Like, some of them are bad, but they're like fun bad. There's a lot of Nick Cage stuff, right? But they're not good. Right? And I guess that's what I think he's saying here.
Small, most people would immediately write it off as a continuity error. In season 1, the buyer's basement door handle is on the left side, but in the season 5 epilogue, suddenly it's on the right. Now here's the thing, Stranger Things is obsessive about set continuity. They rebuild locations from scratch to make them match past seasons exactly. So when a physical detail like this changes, it raises a massive red flag. This could suggest that the epilogue we see may not be in the same layer of Hawkins we think it is. Now if we layer this with how the epilogue actually starts, at the very beginning you can hear these two things, a clock ticking and a heartbeat-like rhythm. This exact audio combination is directly associated with Vecna's possession. They always use this same sensory cue to show us something's wrong here.
To be clear, I don't think I explained this. Everyone is saying that Conformity Gate, what happened here, is because Vecna is secretly controlling the kids, right? He's in their mind. The ending is a fake out. And what we're going to learn...
What the hell is that, dude? This is so much crazier having only watched season 1. What the hell is this? Is this like Ivan Ooze? Is this like the Power Rangers movie?
This new episode comes out is that it's all been sort of like a weird vision. And really, they haven't defeated the bad guy. They're just being conformed into this sort of warped reality. But Mike knows something's up. and everyone can kind of sense something's a little off and it's a little weird.
Which means before we even see anything on screen, the show might be signaling us that we're watching something from Vecna's perspective. And numbers have always been a huge point in Stranger Things. At the beginning of season 4, when they're doing Eddie's D&D campaign, Eddie rolls an 11, which is a miss. Fast forward to the finale, Joy swings the axe 11 times to kill Vecna. And maybe the reason the victory feels so wrong is because 11 doesn't represent a hit. This is showing us what failure looks like, not victory. Last night during the WWE crossover, something really on the nose happened. In the background in the stands, we can actually see an event card that reads, Mike, wake up. So someone holding up a message, on purpose or not, is way too on the nose. It's probably the show telling us the characters and us, the audience, are still asleep. Next, there was actually a big breakthrough on an Easter egg that could be in the background. In the background of Robin in the WSQK headquarters, fans had noticed a Morse code hidden in the background of the shells. Decoding it, it actually reads, "You did not stop me," showing that Vecna wasn't actually defeated, and we could be in his trance right now.
I'm obsessed with what they're saying because it is so clearly just picking these things and really trying to be like, this, guys, we're not wrong. This is clearly going to happen, and it's fascinating. There's two types of people associated with what's going on here. One, the true believers, like I'm pretty sure Ko is, and two, everyone else just capitalizing on the moment. And it's interesting because the people capitalizing are not the ones making videos like this. They're the ones holding up Mike wake up, or like Netflix did, they kept posting Stranger Things references and getting people hype on this idea, very much knowing they weren't going to do a damn thing. But at the same time, it gets people to watch, and for Netflix, numbers is the only thing that matters. And so getting the numbers up,
that is very true.
It's a
very
cynical
true.
move, but it's interesting that that's what's happening here. This is all supposed to happen on the 7th. The big reveal is going to happen on the 7th.
Another major detail people are pointing out is that Heroes by David Bowie always plays in the background of all the fake endings. When Will still has part of the hive mind attached to him and he throws it up, or when they try to fake out Hopper's death. Which raises a question, could this ending also be fake? At the end of the show, we also hear Heroes by David Bowie playing in the background. And if it keeps the theme that this song plays during false resolutions, this could be our biggest hint that this is actually a fake ending. During a Stranger Things promotional TikTok featuring Mr. Clark, in the background we can actually see that their clock reads 1-7. 1-7, the day everyone has been speculating that the new release of the episode will come out. And this for sure isn't a mistake. The clock isn't moving, and Stranger Things has always put very big symbolism into clocks. Another major point people are bringing up is that in an interview, the Duffer Brothers said that their final script pages were actually written on red paper. But in the behind the scenes video where they're doing the final reading of the finale, we can clearly see that the papers are white. So that's clearly not a PR slip. That's either intentional misdirection or proof that what they were reading was the final ending, which lines up perfectly with a fake finale.
Something about him saying finale is the finale. It's all right to say the Lee at the end.
Big piece of lore is Patty Newby. Patty Newby.
Also, this really feels like when people are trying to predict the end of the world. You know what I mean? They're like numerology.
Is Henry Creel's love interest in the Stranger Things plays, which we now know are confirmed to be canon. We can only see her here during the plays, and she's never once brought up during the show.
Also, in case you weren't aware, there's a Stranger Things play, and it apparently is backstory about the bad guy that they don't include in the show, which I've always hated when media is like, hey man, we have one thing that we're really focusing on, but if you want the whole story, here's another thing.
Oh yeah, they do that shit in World of Warcraft
all the time. They'd be like, yeah, new expansion's coming out.
Read the book.
But you've got to read the book first in order to understand what the hell's happening here. And it's like, just put it in your damn game.
Yeah.
Why can't we do that?
That's what
this
I'm
is the
saying.
same thing. Go see our other thing so we can make money off of this thing. And we won't really include it here. By the way, there's so many things in like the last season of Stranger Things that are kind of callbacks to the play. And if you didn't see the play, what? I hate that stuff.
But in the background, we can clearly see she is the main singer in Enzo's during Joyce and Hop's proposal. So what does this mean? This is direct leakage from Vecna's mind.
We can clearly see, bro, that's just a lady.
You can clearly see this is Vecna's mind.
That's just a lady.
So here's the question all of this leads to. What if Stranger Things Season 5 doesn't actually end on episode 8? What if we have a hidden episode 9 about to be released on 1/7? Because we've seen this before, even on things like Gravity Fall, where Alex Hirsch and Disney ran a real-world manhunt for Bill Cipher. They had
By the way, that was actually brilliant. If you were up on what was going on with Gravity Falls and the finale of that, that was actually really smart. But that's because the writing team is next level goofy when it comes to ARGs and setting up like cryptic stuff. They were putting things in episodes long before it actually started to go down the route the show did. Genuinely fantastic to watch if that's something you're into. I would highly recommend it.
The clues didn't feel that important during that time until after the twist was revealed, because they were never meant to be that obvious. Doesn't that sound familiar? So this isn't a new strategy invented by the Duffer Brothers. Other shows have done similar fake-outs for surprise finales, hidden epilogues, and
It's probably because other shows did it that this exists, you know?
Yeah.
Because other shows had the smarts to do something fun and creative. People assume that this is going to happen in this case, and that's not always the way things go.
so why
That's
would this
truther.
actually benefit Netflix? Netflix has nothing bigger than Stranger Things right now. It's arguably one of their biggest grossing products.
Right, but Netflix has never cared about whether you're big or not. They only care about keeping people on the platform watching stuff. And again, if you're gonna sit here and make countless videos about their show, even if they all know it's not true, they're still gonna be like, yeah, keep it up, kid. And that's kind of the case here. Anyway, this was on 1/6, 1/7 rolls around, nothing. In fact, Netflix released a thing that was like, all episodes of Stranger Things are out now on Netflix. And everyone was like, what? Needless to say, we now fast forward to this past weekend where I'm sitting at this con, scrolling through TikTok while I'm like, you know, it's late at night and I'm in my room and trying to go to sleep, not going to sleep, looking at all these TikToks, and people are convinced it's happening on Tuesday the 12th. It will happen. The reason why, because a documentary about the final season is coming to Netflix, and what we're gonna see, y'all, isn't a documentary.
Stick with me because this heavily relates to a lot of Dungeons & Dragons lore, but I'm going to explain it the best that I can. I'm also going to be making references to the WSQK radio that was playing in tandem with the release of Season 5. The radio was manned by Vance Goodman and Mindy Flair,
Also, can I just mention that this also is one of the reasons that I think people underrate doing this type of stuff in books and writing. So I feel like so many times in writing, as somebody who's been like really into writing for the past, years and really getting into it in the last like year-ish and a half, people love to figure stuff out, right? People love to go back and be like, oh my God, how did I miss that? Or like reread stuff and see things or like put little pieces together. And I feel like so many books just don't do that, or so many shows and movies or things. And it's like, it adds so much to it. Maybe because it's like difficult to do. But I think if you're able to do stuff like this and allow people to go back and piece things together and find little hints and clues and little things like that, I think that really is what takes writing to like another level.
aka Vecna and the Mind Flayer. The information needed for this theory is all about the god Tharizdun. This is a god that was locked away eons ago, basically, in D&D lore because he doesn't want to just, like, control the multiverse or the different planes of existence like most evil gods do within.
I have a genuine question about all of these videos that people are like, see, the show's with D&D, and this is a D&D thing. I'm really curious if the people making these videos actually play D&D, because a lot of what I saw while looking through stuff was people dropping Wikipedia pages of D&D stuff. And it feels like one of those, I looked it up to see if I could find information that would fit with the theory I already have, rather than, oh, this is something that directly relates.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean? It's like when someone can take the Bible and say slavery is justified. You can take anything and warp it to fit your view if you want.
Yeah.
Though, truthfully, this god is extremely not known in Dungeons & Dragons. He's so old and was imprisoned so long ago that he only exists within books that the DMs themselves read, because players,
Also, her
aka
background
people
noise is giving
within
me like early
the world of Dungeons &
2000s
Dragons
e-machine
don't really know he
computer
ever
trying to
existed.
run World of
His
Warcraft
holy
and
number is also
Ironforge or some
represented
shit.
by 333.
Where your computer's
He's the
just
god
like
of eternal darkness,
the
decay,
fans freaking
entropy,
out.
which is basically chaos, malign knowledge, mistruth, insanity, and
Entropy, which is basically chaos. I don't know that I'd say that. I don't know that I would say entropy is chaos, but okay.
Now, cut over to one of Vecna's Dungeons & Dragons modules. That includes this plan. A woman named Marit is being used by her uncle. She's currently
We
pregnant.
grew up actually playing magic.
What the hell? I was gonna say entropy is probably something that can lead to chaos, right? Because like lack of predictability can make people freak out. But, you know, I mean, life isn't predictable, and there's plenty of people that don't have chaos. They're like, so I agree with Jesse on that one.
Magic the Gathering. We did a dabble in D&D, but my D&D knowledge is embarrassingly low considering how important it is to the show.
Moniker is, but farther down they're referencing freeing the chained god from his misty prison. This is specifically referencing Tharizdun, and perfectly works with his lore and the fact that many people don't know that they're actually following him.
This is the exact same vibe, and I know it's totally different things, but it's the exact same vibe of that guy who was like, semen retention, keep it inside, kids.
This really is like a different version of that.
And it's the same thing here where it's, I'm taking things I don't quite understand, and I'm going to talk about them with some authority, and I'm going to use it to justify my point.
Honestly, I think me and Jesse'd be really good at that. I can talk about so much shit that I don't understand and pretend like I know what I'm talking about.
And that's kind of the vibe here of what, like,
I
this
do that
is
all the
my
time.
theory.
Then you start thinking, 11 was the 11th test subject at Hawkins' lab. Rank 11, essentially. The Void.
I mean, now that I think about it, Jesse did this with Jaina being a Dreadlord. He literally did this with Jaina being a Dreadlord.
That in season 5, they specifically tell us is her mind. Could kind of be akin to eternal darkness. There's no edges, no walls, and there's no light there. He likes it cold. He's the god of cold.
This is almost QAnon levels of insanity. This is like, don't you see? It's the pieces are connecting.
It's once you start like breaking shit down, like I could do this right now with Jesse. I'd be like, this is Jesse Cox. Now, if you look at Jesse Cox here, you're gonna see he's wearing glasses, and glasses are something you look through to see things. So obviously he's wearing them for a reason. He's trying to show us that we, the viewers, need to be like him and put on our glasses to see through his vision, which is the video that he's recording. So in a way, he's recording through us. And if you look at the background, it says Bureau of Control. All right. So by him viewing us through his glasses and a Bureau of Control in the background, he's trying to control us through mind control through YouTube, which you then have the light back there, and so the light is off, but the other light is on off the camera. So if you really think about it, right, the light off the camera represents the sun, and we're not able to look directly at the sun, but then on the other side, we have the light that is not turned on. And what's that going to illuminate? Is that going to illuminate the Bureau of Control? But right now the sun is illuminating the Bureau of Control. So maybe we just need to get different types of glasses to be able to see what is lit up and what is in darkness. And when we're able to do that, maybe we're also able to turn on the light in the background and to see things that we don't even know are there. And I don't even know what I just said.
This is Pepe Sylvia. It only gets deeper, y'all.
In the first Shadow, the play of Stranger Things, we learn that the Mind Flayer is actually a woman. She's motherly. I have a whole video on Kali and why she's related to the Mind Flayer. But the cold, that's related to Tharizdun.
I have a video on Kali, the god Kali? Okay.
The opening after the first 5 minutes where we get the cut back to what happened to Will in the Upside Down, Karen yells Holly's name 3 times to get her attention. There are 3 Demogorgons. Mike insists on saying, yes, he beat.
I mean, there's also the rule of threes, right? Where I think most people just think 3 is a good number. Like they're probably writing the script. Like, how many times should he yell? Just say 3, you know, follow the rule of threes. It's a comforting number. It's the most common thing, right? It's like the rule of thirds. The rule of threes, rule of third, like 3 objects, 3. I think it's, you know, so it's like we're hitting like Occam's razor level of stuff where it's just like the most obvious answer is probably the correct answer.
3.
There's also the rule of 3, which is a Hollywood thing, a movie making thing,
dude.
A thing that
Great
exists
minds.
where it's like, hey man, in order to hammer a thing home,
I like,
make a
dude. I love the amount of times that I'll just say shit and then Jesse says it right after me. You're like, he'll say something that I was thinking. It's pretty wild.
point to really establish it in the world we're doing. 3 is the you gotta have triples. It's a thing that has existed forever because it works. The audience picks up on things if you hammer it 3 times or you bring it back 3 times. It's just the way it is.
Chemistry homework that Nancy's doing, that's on fractal distillation. Fractal. His symbol is a fractal. A really insane piece to me that proves this theory is the whole mall scene with Elle and Max and the Material Girl song. Gods can't exist on the material plane in Dungeons & Dragons lore, so they need an avatar or a vessel in order to do so.
So as you can see, it is one of those things where every little tidbit of everything must be important. It must mean something, surely. Netflix wouldn't capitalize on this, right?
Right. Honestly, I think if any show is actually doing that, I would say it's Amazing Digital Circus. And I think it's because they're doing their own thing, right? They're kind of their independent studio. You can tell, like, I don't know. I think when it becomes like this type of thing, when it's on Netflix, it's such a big thing and we're in like season 5 or whatever it is, right? I think it loses a lot of that. But I think when it's a lot of these, same with like independent games, independent shows, whatever, like they have so much more creative freedom to do what they want. And I think that allows them to do these types of things that these people are making theories on.
This commenter and I both agree that we think how the documentary is going to go is going to be very similar to the 7th Nightmare on Elm Street. So there's been a lot of drama and talk amongst fans of the show because the Duffer Brothers mentioned that the finale had red scripts, except in every table read and everything about episode 8, there's no red scripts. What this commenter and I agree on and think is going to happen is that in the documentary, the cast of actors is going to find the red scripts and realize that Vecna has affected episodes 5, 6, 7, and 8.
This might be my favorite TikTok because I genuinely think that would be brilliant. Is if they released the documentary, but the documentary was the real world actors. Like, there's a whole, you know me, I love metafiction. I love when something breaks the fourth wall. I love when it gets super weird. It's why I love Remedy games, because they're super weird like that. I like the game Pony Island. I don't want to spoil Pony Island because Pony Island 2 is coming soon, but I love that game for the same reason. I like when something breaks the fourth wall and really starts to mess with the viewers and makes you start to think about things. I love that
Whoa, thinking.
kind of stuff.
In
this
2026?
case, that is not what's happening. But
Brock,
I
what
understand
is
the desire
thinking?
for it to happen because
It
it's
is what
something I
humans
love.
used to do
And,
before they had
she's
us.
going down the rabbit hole, really getting into it. But this is 3 days ago, right before it's all supposed to kick off. And so you can see, like, the hope is there.
Fight him out of our world, of the actor's world, and send him back into Hawkins. And then that would result in us, the fans, getting the actual episodes 5, 6, 7, 8, or potentially even just the finale. Because the actors, the Duffer Brothers, and the production team would have all been broken out from under Vecna's control by then. And then we would likely see our Hawkins team beat Vecna, the Mind Flayer, and the third BBEG that the WSQK radio was implying existed.
So none of that happened. The documentary came out, and it was literally a documentary. And none of that happened. But again, people were still hoping, even up until the day. There's so many of these videos, y'all. There's tons, and everyone seems to have figured it out, and they genuinely believe it. And I just feel bad for them. I really do, because I wish they would have gotten it. Frankly, so do I. I wish the ending would have been better than what it was.
This is 8 times that the characters of Stranger Things tried to warn us that the ending was fake, even sometimes breaking the fourth wall and confirming that the conformity gate theory is real. Firstly, Lucas looks directly down the camera and warns us breaking the fourth wall.
I don't know about you guys, but I don't believe in coincidences.
That right there, if I was in this, absolutely would I believe that. Looking at the camera is not something that a lot of TV and movies do. In fact, when I've been on sets filming stuff, you know, when you're doing YouTube or whatever, you look at the camera, the whole point is like, you and I are having a conversation, right? But when you're filming, you want to look off to this way. The person watching, you, is viewing from outside the scene. Looking directly at the camera brings you into the scene, which is something most Hollywood directors, most directors in general, like, do not do.
Yeah.
The minute you do, you've ruined the scene. And so because it happened here, it does come off as weird. I buy that as a reason. You know what I mean? In fact, this video has a lot of good reasons of why this would be a real thing. Except again, it's not.
Let's go back to season 4, episode 1, when Eddie predicted the ending, Vecna missing his left arm.
He's not only missing his left arm.
Oh yes, he obviously predicted that perfectly, but then what did he say after? After, he tells us all that Vecna is not dead. Listen.
Vecna's dead! Killed by cats! So it was thought, my friends. So it was thought. but Vecna wins.
In that epilogue, Robin even confirms that Hawkins is different. Well, that's because it's a memory.
This isn't even the Hawkins that I remember. It feels so different.
What's interesting about it is that as you watch the show, the tone you would get is all these characters have to move on and grow up. They're not children anymore. Their adventure is over. And now they have to, very much like Lord of the Rings, go back and start over again. And it feels weird and different. And they're all handling it in their own way. That's, I think, what they were trying to tell us. But because, again, the ending is such a letdown, everyone's reading into it like, maybe there's something more happening. And this is actually them warning us. This is why these days, unless a show is over or someone says, I really, 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 really need to watch it, I don't invest the time anymore. I just don't. Because I'm so tired of like getting really hyped on a thing and then it falling apart in the second season and then third or whatever. It happens, especially on streaming services. The amount of times I've watched the first season of a thing and been like, wow, that was great. And then started watching the second season and you're like, what happened? Is way too high.
I feel like there's so many shows that just need one season. It's the same when they do it with movies that they're like, it has to be a trilogy. Like The Hobbit. The Hobbit could have been 2 movies. We didn't need a third movie. They could have fit all that into 2 movies and it would have been much better and made more sense. But instead they stretch shit out and that's just what happened. Or they're like, here's like a 5-part movie series and then part 5 is 2 parts. Like they're just milking the money out of it. It feels like a lot of the times, right? So I always hate that.
All streaming services.
Max says she was an observer, trapped in Henry's mind and his memories, just like us.
I wasn't actually there. Not really. I was just an observer. I was trapped inside Henry's mind. His memories.
It makes sense we're trapped in Henry's memories, because Melvold's never sold milkshakes, but they did when Henry was in school. He thought Steve liked baseball just because of the bat. Will never liked the woods in the first place. The Hellfire Club t-shirt is not grey, that's just the colour that was replaced when the memories fall apart, just like the dial down there and just like the roundabout.
Nope, those were all mistakes. Or choices that were made that threw people for a loop. That's just what, it's so sad because you know that, yeah, all that, if this was a well-written show, that would check out. That would be brilliant. Again, it would be brilliant if this is what they did. But it ain't what they did.
Look out for anything that's out of place. That's what we all done in that finale, and that's where the conformity gate theory came from.
Look for anything that's out of place. It'll be hidden. Hard to find.
Things all over this are just wrong, even to the point where there's just blank signs up in the top corner.
I feel like probably the blank sign was going to be filled in with something digitally, and they just forgot or didn't or ran out of time. Like sometimes when things are rushed or people just stop caring, that happens. It's really disappointing. We come to the part where this is really upsetting to me, is people jumping in and like trying to grift off of it, I guess. This guy, I saw this and this was the biggest bullshit I've ever seen in my entire life. This guy is like, oh, I was on set. I know things.
Hey there, I signed an NDA, so I probably shouldn't be talking about this, but as some of y'all know, I worked on Stranger Things. I worked in actor continuity, and
I feel like that's a terrible sign when someone says, I signed an NDA, but I'm going to talk about it. Like, why would you do that? You're going to get sued? And this isn't like an NDA with just like some small little company or something where you're like, I don't care if they come out. Those like Netflix and a major studio, you're going to break one of their NDAs? Like, that already is kind of suspicious.
And there's been like a lot of Conformity Gate stuff, and I wanted to talk about it on here in a way that I feel comfortable talking about it, which is that for the people that see, there is
today, Junior.
And that if you're seeing, there's things.
Just rap that kid like if you can and when and why you will and if you can like or whatever he says.
Colors that are attached to another thing, but it isn't what you seem. So. Yeah. And also just a big thank you to everyone that, yeah, thank you. It's cool to see. So, yeah, that's it. I believe.
This guy sucks. This sucks. This is no different in my mind than people who saw QAnon stuff and then were like, yeah, my uncle works in the government and I know this thing. Or like, I secretly work for this governmental body and I know what's happening. That kind of stuff, that's the most toxic shit I've ever... This guy...
It's like, I'm Jim Jenkins and I worked on the moon. And I know we ain't got no Americans on the moon because I was there.
Is literally just inserting himself, throwing fuel on the fire for attention. Like, I know I joke about being an attention whore and stuff and videos and whatever. And
Patreon.com/Crendor. YouTube.com/Crendor podcast.
This is the reality of it, and this guy sucks. This sucks. You suck. This is what I meant by people are jumping in on this. Hell, even Netflix did it, and I, sometimes think Netflix sucks too. So, the situation clearly is getting out of hand to the point where we end up with things like this that, again, I don't know that people know what they're talking about. And yet they say it with such conviction that other people believe. This thing.
I mean, that's happened since the dawn of time. People talking like they know what they're talking about, but they actually know nothing. That's like a fourth of the world right now, honestly.
It has 27,000 likes, dude.
The Duffer Brothers never registered this season. In order to be considered a final episode, you have to do 3 things. You need to have a final episode ID, legal release status, and then you have to enter it into the distribution and measurement system. That's the legal side of this. This is what you have to do in order to officially produce a show. All of those things together make it an official episode. And what we just watched is not registered that way. And don't you worry, I already checked. Seasons 1 through 4 were absolutely registered that way. So I'm sure, just like I was trying to figure out, what did we just watch?
The finale is what you watched. All this is superfluous. It doesn't matter. But people are literally coming up with anything that will help them, cope with them not liking the ending.
Reason why there's mass psychosis in the Stranger Things fandom right now following that finale is because this is the show that set the precedent early on that every single detail matters, that there are no coincidences, that we should look into things. So now people would rather delude themselves into believing that the Duffer Brothers are going to suddenly explain all of the plot holes in a brand new episode because they don't want to accept the fact that season 5 was simply sloppy. Given how meticulous this show once was, the gaping holes in its basic mythology are going to be that much more pronounced, and understandably, its sloppiness will be less tolerated by its fandom.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's straight up just, it's a show where they threw in little things. It was supposed to mean something, and it did mean something, and in the final season, none of it meant something, which is disappointing. You know how I love Final Fantasy XIV, and I go watch other people react to Final Fantasy XIV story, and seeing them cry or cheer or whatever is very fun for me. I kind of have the same sort of emotional vampirism here, where I've been watching people who have not really had this experience before. Like I said, anime fans, I know y'all have, but I'm talking the normies. Watching them have this experience has been fascinating. Genuinely, truly fascinating. Here's one more example of another video. I'm just gonna give you a bunch of examples because, again, I've been watching it all weekend long.
I mean, it's the Chekhov's gun at that point, right? If you show something early on, people expect you to have it later on, right? If you're like, oh, here's my super awesome power glove by Nintendo, then you show it off, and it's like, oh, I wonder what that'll be used for. You instantly relate that to we're gonna see that later in the movie, and then later in the movie, it doesn't even have to be anything crazy, right? It could just be he puts it on, he's like, oh, he just punches somebody with it. And you're like, dude, it's the power glove from earlier, right? That shit's all over all the time. And so I think when you do that, and then when you do that, you're making a promise. And I think a lot of times writing is about promises. I actually think Brandon Sanderson said this, which is where I got it from. And if you show something like this and you're essentially promising something hey, I'm showing you this and I'm promising that it'll be here later. It's kind of like a prologue, right? Where, for example, in Star Wars, when you see Darth Vader on a ship and, there's Princess Leia and he's like, where's the thing? And then she's like, right? With R2-D2, send the message. You're getting a promise there that hey, we're about to show you like Luke Skywalker living on a farm, just like in the middle of nowhere, just being like, oh boy, I sure hope I could go somewhere someday. But you now know, like, hey, they just showed me there's like Darth Vader and there's wars going on in space. So like I've been promised that we're going to see some of these space wars, right? Or Star Wars in the future of this movie. And then you do, right? And it's so like when you make these promises, I think people are expecting something. And so if there's nothing, it's almost like you're left like empty. Like I was promised something and now there's nothing, right? And I think that's a very common issue with terrible writing.
And if this plays out the way I'm about to explain, the Duffer Brothers would go down in history for creating the best show of all time. The theory is we're getting these runtimes back after the finale. I know this sounds bonkers, but stay with me. So we've been getting duped this entire time. These runtimes came out before Volume 1 was released. They're 2 hours plus, a lot of these episodes. Well, when we watched Volume 1 and 2, they were cut down by a lot, like big time. But the gag is, these events actually happen, but the cut gate, they took these scenes away because, oh, it's too much runtime, you know.
Right. And so what he's going to say is that the runtime is going to be added back, and we're going to see these episodes from a completely new perspective. And we're going to see the real final season. And the greatest trick that Netflix has ever pulled, that Duffer Brothers have ever done, is giving us a fake final season. Which, by the way, if that was real, would be cool as shit. I'd be like, what? It'd be amazing. I would genuinely be with this dude like that's the single greatest thing a TV show has ever done. Wow, that's so cool. Except it's just not what happened. And again, I just want to say to everyone who was disappointed and all the people coping hard here, go play a Remedy game. You will get roughly what you're asking for here, but in the Remedy verse.
Not essential to the story. That's baloney. They've done this on purpose to make us, the viewer, forget our memories of what's happening.
Right, we're being controlled by Vecna, which again, super cool, love the idea, did not happen. And so I just wanted to wrap this one final video, this TikTok I saw that was like, yeah, all right, this is the real truth.
But if Conformity Gate isn't real, why then would Netflix comment under Conformity Gate themed videos implying that it secretly is? Why then would Netflix, Poland, Netherlands, and Korea all make allusions to a major announcement happening January 7th? Because Netflix is not above capitalizing off your disappointment. Why else would the writers try cobbling together a nonsensical attempt to explain why Eleven might have secretly made it out if the intention's not to narratively leave the largest amount of available doors open? If you're sincerely under the impression that Netflix is not going to continuously tease Conformity Gate to generate traction for any future installments or spin-offs, and they've already formally announced 2, Stranger Things Tales from 85, a fully animated series set between seasons 2 and 3, and then a separate live action that won't tie back to the original setting or characters, but will be connected to the universe, all I'm able to say is good luck, Charlie. The only metric that matters for determining whether or not a show will be supported by the service that is streaming it, whether it will be renewed, is watch time. Praise is completely irrelevant, which is why, unfortunately, we have wound up with no shortage of adored, critically acclaimed television that's taken off shelf one season on, which is why you wound up with multiple seasons of shows like Velma.
I was genuinely about to say Velma, a show that was not very good, that everyone online rage watched, talked about, and it got a second season. If you look back at Morbius, right? That movie sucked, but people online were talking about it and goofing, and they were morbing, right?
Yep.
So much so that they re-released it in theaters thinking people would go watch it again. It's all about eyes. That's all these companies care about. They're not media companies. They're like money-making companies. They aren't about creativity or art or about making a good show. It's about getting people involved and watching and caring. And it doesn't matter if you care because it's good or you care because it's bad to them. And that's what we have here, unfortunately. It is a scenario in which people are getting real worked up over a thing. Hell, I even just made a video about it. And it's something that I think we should really talk about when it comes to streaming services, because that's how we end up with so many absolute shit shows. It doesn't negate the fact that there's a lot about Stranger Things that I love. And, I can say there's a lot of things about Game of Thrones that I love. I don't know what to expect from these things, but I expect that the streaming companies will do whatever's in their best interest to make money. And a lot of the time that means scrapping good stuff and keeping the bad.
That's true.
And I'm definitely too old for that.
Turns out companies love money. A lot. So yeah, I think I said pretty much everything I had to say there. So thanks for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. If you want to see another Almost Too Old for This, I'll put it up on screen. You'll click that, and I'll see you next time. Okay? Okay. See ya.